Hello, listeners. Welcome to the Commercial Photography Podcast. And this week, I have with me Tom Stansfield, marketer extraordinaire, man of a million ideas in 10 seconds. Hi, Tom. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Sam. Great to be here. Thanks for the invite.
That's right. And we've known each other, I think, Tom, for a long time now, haven't we? And regularly chatting about marketing. So we're going to dig into your expert advice for our photographer listeners.
Let's do that.
Perfect. So me and Tom were chatting about ideas for the show, and Tom said what he really thought would be interesting to talk about is positioning and photographers positioning themselves. So my question straight away is, can you define positioning? What do we mean by positioning?
Yeah, no problem whatsoever. So the way that I see things as a generalist marketer, so we deal with all sorts of different marketing from implementation of systems, websites, you name it. But the one thing that we see is that, and it's not specific to photography in general, but that most photographers will market themselves and in almost identical ways, which makes competing on price almost inevitable. Yeah. So from a positioning perspective, they need to stand out. Like if somebody's going to a photographer to purchase their services, they don't know what the difference in different photography styles might be before they've done either deep research or unless it's perfectly clear when they come to make that purchase decision. So the positioning piece basically means that people need to stand out to be able to be purchased from.
That makes sense, because that's interesting. We talk about that a lot on the show, the fact, a lot of photographers end up mixed at the bottom, competing on price, and you need to move away from that. And so you're straight away going to say, well, the big way to do that is to be different and not just your website's the same as everybody else's and it's all much of a muchness.
Yeah, there was a statistic, Sam, that was released, and I will find it by the end of the podcast, I'm sure. But it said that almost 90% of consumers say that authenticity is one of the key factors that they use when deciding which brands to purchase from.
Okay.
So that authenticity fits into that positioning piece really nicely.
Right, so it's got to be, you've got to stand out and you've got to be authentic. But a photographer and I think being authentic in photography doesn't mean I love photography and I got a camera when I was 12, because that's the same on the about page of every single other photographer. So how do you get that authenticity with that unique positioning?
It's a tough one, and I don't know. Everybody will have their own way of being authentic,
yes,
right? My philosophy is just like, what can you do to stand out? So when I launched my one of our marketing agencies, Lincolnshire Marketing, I had no audience here in Lincolnshire. So my view was, how do I get in front of as many people as I possibly can and start to build relationships? And I did that by going to a photographer who had a better black book than I did. And that photographer was present on social media all the time. They were showing that they've got relationships with all these people. And that to me built trust. So there was a bit of authenticity there that made me make a decision to bring them in on a project that we were working on.
Yeah.
So that's one way
Is that Toby?
It wasn't Toby. It was a guy called David Harrison.
Oh, David Harrison. Yeah. He's been on the show chatting about safaris, if people want to listen back quite a while back. Yeah. I was talking to him yesterday about that.
Yeah, David was doing commercial photography at the time. So we brought him in on a number of projects. We also used Toby. And there's another photographer.
Sorry, just for listeners, Toby's headshot photographer, and also he's done a couple of shows as well. Have a listen.
Yeah, amazing. And then there's another photographer here in Lincoln that we use for some projects, and it depends exactly what we're looking for or what the client is looking for. But Chris Vaughan, who does the photography for Lincoln City Football Club.
Okay, cool.
So we bring him in on some projects, but all of those are authentic. They've each got their own strengths, and we know exactly what that looks like because of the way that they market themselves.
Okay, and so they kind of stood out to you. You could kind of see them standing out from the crowd.
Yeah, so if you look at Chris, we know that Chris's service, like Chris is trusted by some of the biggest brands in Lincolnshire, like Lincoln Big. He works on all of the big awards dues. So it's an easy decision for us to bring him in on our awards that we run. We also know that with Chris, we're going to get photographs on the night that we can post straight onto social media. So speed and delivery of that service is fantastic for us. With Toby's got a dedicated studio in Lincoln. So if we want people to have headshots done, we send them to Toby, they get done, and we know that the quality of the photos are always fantastic.
Perfect. And then you also said you were working with them because of their online presence, because they were everywhere. So, I mean, did that help you? And is that something photographers could do in reverse? Try and find people they want to work with who are already established, already got already authentic and have an authority that they can kind of almost pick up on their branding with, and kind of use them to help them grow.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a quote, and again, this will be a theme for the podcast. I think that I can't remember who said it, or I can't remember where the source came from. But there's a quote that says, "You are the sum of the 5 people you most closely surround yourself with." And so when I launched and I went to David Harrison, I said, ultimately, he's got a better network than I have, but I've got some ideas that I'd like to share, and I've got some ideas that I'd like to bring him in on. So commercially, it was going to work for him. It was going to make sense. And I wanted to own an asset, to create an asset. And that's exactly what we did. I think I've gone slightly off piste on your question here, but I hope you don't mind.
I don't know.
But yeah, standing out and being authentic, there's a few things that people can do. So obviously being present and being visible is one of the easiest things. And certainly it shouldn't be particularly difficult for a photographer to be visible. They've got the ability to capture themselves, so to speak. And then creating those assets, owning those assets.
If I can jump in that, so online visibility, yeah. I think the only thing is, though, in in-person events, visibility, sometimes a photographer's job, and then they end up doing this at other events, is to go into the background. They're doing the event photography. So in some ways, the photographer's native mode is to be slightly in the background. And sometimes at events can that be against them, because they're trying to also promote their business. Maybe they're there just to do that, but their kind of natural thing is, I'll wear black and I'll disappear.
It's the default, isn't it?
That's it.
But there's ways that they can still capture themselves. So with David Harrison, for example, one thing we did was, when he was doing a shoot for some of our team, it would have been maybe 4 years ago now.
Okay.
We just got somebody to take some photographs of him. So we were adding value to the partnership.
Okay.
And then we gave him those photos that he could then use of him behind the camera taking photos. So doing what he does best. But it also gave people an opportunity to see what his client journey looks like, or what his client experience looks like. So there are ways and means around it. But ultimately, we ought to be posting about our business, about what we do, about the people that we serve all the time. And these are ways that we will be able to stand out.
Okay, perfect. And then talking about posting as well. So what's your thought about that? Because I think a lot of photographers instantly go to Instagram, but I always wonder if they're just really talking to more photographers.
Yeah, perhaps. I guess it depends on the audience that they're building, right? So it used to be the case on Instagram that if you follow 2 people, one of them typically would follow you back. That doesn't work anymore. And the algorithm changes all the time. Instead, what I would do is I would engage with the businesses that you want to work with. So you find like a buyer persona. We call it a brand avatar in marketing. Yeah. You find the sort of business that you want to work with, and then you start to follow their content, and then you'll comment on it and you'll engage with it. And then they'll start to see you, and then there's a marketing strategy called the 6-touch strategy, which basically suggests that for somebody to know you, like you, and trust you enough to part with their hard-earned cash on your product or service, they need to have been exposed to your brand 6 times.
Only 6? I mean, we get everyone who comes on has their own number, don't they? But 6 is quite a low one, so that's interesting.
I think it depends on those touches, right? Those 2 touch points. So if we're talking about social media, likelihood is you'll need more than 6 touches. And American marketeers suggest, I've seen lots of different stats on this. I've seen stats where it suggests it could be as many as 20 touches.
Yeah. Wow.
But it happens, and it's just psychology, basically. So we just need to have been exposed to that brand to be able to trust it. I bought a new rucksack, a travel rucksack, the other day on Instagram, based on the fact that this ad kept popping up, and I must have seen it 6 times. And I thought, do you know what? I now trust this brand. I went and I did what everybody else did. I looked at the social proof. So I went and checked out their reviews. I looked at their website, and then I made a purchase decision. But yeah, we need to be able to be present for that. And on Instagram, that's the default for most photographers. I'd be posting organically. I'd be engaging organically. But if you're a commercial photographer, LinkedIn's obviously going to be the platform that you want to start looking at. If you've got the time, there are platforms out there like Hootsuite or Buffer these days, which enable us to schedule our content out across multiple social media platforms. And typically speaking, when we're talking about photography, we might be showing off or showcasing some of our work, in which case we can schedule it across multiple platforms.
Okay. So you don't think you need, if it's just images, it's not too much of an issue kind of tailoring it for the different audience in the different platforms?
Absolutely. And we've got AI at our fingertips, right? So we can then start to create a specific post for specific platforms. And then you've got considerations like we use a platform called Metrical for our clients. It's a scheduling tool, much like Buffer or Hootsuite, but it tells us the exact time that we need to be posting out to be able to reach the audience on the specific channels.
Okay,
So
that's interesting.
if we had a photography client, it might say that LinkedIn, the best time to post out is at 11 o'clock and the best day is a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah.
It might say that Instagram, the best time is between 5 and 7 at night as people are finishing work, getting home and having the tea.
Okay.
These are things that we ought to be considering. But all of these things will help us get in front of our ideal audience as we progress.
Okay. And then it's not just images, is it? Because if we're doing images, like we've said, for most people, if the photographers are good, and most of them are, there's the odd exception, but most photographers are good. If they're just posting images, let's be honest, Joe Public or people who need their services can't tell the slight subtle differences in quality between the photographers. So
Absolutely.
what else do they need to be talking about doing apart from putting the photos there?
Yeah, good photography is no longer enough to stand out, is it? Everybody is a good photographer. So what else do they need to
Most
do?
people.
Most of your audience, absolutely. Let's use Toby as an example. So Toby Lee, Headshot Photography, he did photography work with actors down in London. He was doing headshots, and then he moved up north, back to Lincoln, where his family are from, which is where we re-engaged. He said that I'm going to start doing business photography and specifically market myself as a headshot specialist. Well, he's niched down into headshot as a type of photography.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, he chose platforms that were specific. So he chose LinkedIn because he wanted to get into the commercial elements.
Yep.
But the work that he does and the way that he showcases his work is incredible. So we first met, but when he was launching his business and launching into Lincoln, we met and had a conversation. And he said, I've got this idea to run a magazine called The Marketing Companion. Yeah. So he would go out to businesses, use their headshots or the headshots that he's taken, within this magazine, and then showcase their businesses and publish this. So all of the photography within this magazine is his work.
Yep.
That's a great asset to have, to be able to showcase his work whilst also helping his clients. I think that's a fantastic way to own an asset and to promote your work. On top of that, he launched a podcast called the Brand You Podcast with another marketer called Kaz.
Yeah, well, I've been on there.
And that's, again, another asset where he can showcase his expertise. And those two things alone, with the work that he's doing, help him stand out.
Yeah. No, I mean, they're really different. Where you were talking about authenticity and standing out, that's really different, isn't it? Any business, I've mind photographers, who are creating a magazine for people.
Absolutely. And it's no wonder he's busy, right? Because he's doing these things. He's also a really likable person, and he does great photography.
Yeah.
So it's easy for him to stand out.
Yeah, but he's doing a lot, isn't he? He's busy. He's spending a lot of time on this stuff. And it does take that commitment.
It does. My dad always used to say to me, he said, if you want something, you'll go out and get it. You'll go out and make it happen.
Yeah.
So 7 days in a week and there's 24 hours in a day. I don't believe that you'll get anything easily. Like we can work smart, but quite often we have to work hard to make things work.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, lots of things to think about there. And the other thing to talk about, I think, is AI in marketing, and that can be linked to the positioning as well. And you've kind of talked about it already. So there's all sorts of views on this, isn't there? From the person that says AI could do my marketing, I tell Claude and it does everything, to the people who go, oh no, it's thoroughly authentic, I mustn't touch it. To people who think it's a good tool but maybe not creative. What are your thoughts on kind of AI in marketing and where it's good, where it's bad?
That's a great question. There's a lot to unpack there, I think. Yeah. My views. I use AI on a day-to-day basis. So I've created my own AI agent, which reads my emails. It creates responses and gets them in my draft inbox ready to send. That saved me some time, which means that I can then work on the business.
Okay, perfect. So that just interesting. So that literally responds, and then you just get it doesn't quite send it. So you just get a load of, are these okay? Bang, 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 bang. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no.
Absolutely. And my business partner Tommy and I have built Tom Pilot, which is our own operating system. It's something we're going to take to market soon. But every morning using Slack as a Slack channel, it gives me a to-do list of things that are priorities for me based on due dates, based on emails and the urgency, the how urgent an email looks, those sorts of things.
And just interesting, just very briefly, the platform for an agent you're using?
To build it.
Yeah.
So it's custom built HTML, but we've used...
the AI agent.
Yeah, so we've used Claude and Claude Code.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
So Claude is an absolutely incredible tool, isn't it? So there's obviously you've got co-work, you've got skills within Claude.
Cool.
We explore every LLM. So we're running Gemini, we're running ChatGPT, we're running Claude.
Okay, perfect. So I interrupted you just as you're about to talk about marketing and AI. Sorry.
No, it's all right, not a problem. So if we take this back to how photographers can benefit from AI specifically, like it doesn't have to be around their photography work. It just has to be about how they can make life easier for themselves as a business owner. So I've given you an example of how I do that. Every day I spend 2 hours on business development. So no matter how busy we are, I'm never going to stop marketing on the basis that, number one, I want to be able to pick and choose who we work with. That's a nice position to be in, right?
Yeah, of course.
So we'll use AI now to work smarter on that. So we use it for lead management. So when a website lead comes in, I've built a small piece of code which basically scores the lead.
Okay.
If it doesn't score particularly highly, and perhaps there's some gaps in the request for our services, it fires an email back to the client to say, can we have more information about how we might be able to support you on this, on X, Y, and Z?
Yeah.
Your CRM system will be vital. And I'm biased, of course, because we've got Tom CRM, our own CRM system. But there's AI built into that. So it helps people to, again, manage leads, build out either website copy or email marketing copy. All of these things AI can help you with these days.
Yeah.
There's a few people. So if we're in a room of 100 people and we ask people to put their hands up if they didn't fully trust AI, I think would be 50-50, perhaps maybe more than 50-50 for people that don't fully trust AI yet. But if we look at the amount of people that are using AI, I would say that 70% of people are now using it, if not more. So it's just the level at which they're using it. So I did a LinkedIn post not so long ago about the levels of which people are using AI. And I can share some of that with you if you like. So you've got different users. You've got those that use it for like query and response. So I've had an email from so and so. This is the email. Help me with a response. There's not a huge amount of context to it. That's one of the ways that people are using it. You've also got then the next level up, so to speak, at the bottom. And those users. So sorry, in that first bracket, by the way, there's about 45% of people are at that first stage, query and response. The next level up is the delegation stage. So people are starting to use AI for delegation. So it absorbs some of the day-to-day work and grunt. So it might be that you post meeting summaries into AI to get, or your meeting notes to get a summary. It might be that you're doing a bit of deeper research. It might be that you're doing document drafts, admin tasks, etc. After that, you get into the embedding stage, so more complex use of AI now. And that might be the tipping point. So this is where people stand out. So this is where 11% of people are at the minute, as I understand it. So these people are using it, and it's woven directly into core systems like the CRM, like website analysis, and it's all about internal knowledge hubs. That's maybe where I'm at in terms of some of the work that we're doing. And then my business partner, Tommy, who is a tech nerd, I'm sure he won't mind me saying this, he's at level 4, which is basically reimagining. So this is the horizon of where we want to get to when it comes to AI. And this is the people that are winning the race are here. So the business model evolves because we're using AI within it. It allows to use it. It basically means that we can create teams. So multiple AI agents doing different functions within our team. Some might be business development, some might be administrative, some might be finance. But having agents that do each of these core functions, maybe having a dashboard that shows us what all of our staff, our AI staff, are using.
That's crazy.
That's a bit of a tangent, but
that's right.
Gives you an understanding as to what you could do with regards to using AI within your marketing.
And then in terms of content itself, so what are your thoughts on that, on kind of that content creation side? How much do we need a human input? How much is it? Because it can be really powerful, but it can also, you can end up with stuff that's very samey as everyone else because you're using the same agents and you're asking the same things.
Yeah, so I think that's the point. If we're asking the same things, we'll get the same things that everybody else is getting, right? So there needs to be an element of that authenticity in there. So if you're using ChatGPT, for example, you can create your own GPT and then you can feed it information about you, ask it to interview you, and it can then start to create your own brand voice, or you can give it your own brand voice so that when it does create content for you, it creates it to a specific specification. That's incredibly important because that way you won't get AI slop. You'll get stuff that's tailored. But at the same time, AI will still need prompts. The response that you get is only as good as the prompt that you put in. So if I just say, give me a post about AI or give me a post about photography, that's not a good enough prompt. You'll say your prompt will be better if it's along the lines of, I'm looking to create my social media content for this week. On LinkedIn, my audience is primarily X, Y, and Z. The style of photography that I work with or that I specialize in is X, Y, and Z. And the people that I'm looking to attract or interact with my posts will be businesses that have this problem, insert problem here. You'll get a better response then. And then you can say things like, I'd like to include statistics to help position myself as an expert when it comes to photography style. All of those things will help and you'll get better marketing as a result. So I'm a huge believer in using AI. Let's work smarter. Let's not make things too difficult for ourselves. But what I will then do is I'll take the copy, and anybody who's got Grammarly, there's an AI detector within Grammarly. There are free AI detectors on the internet. You can then copy and paste that content into an AI detector, and it will give you a percentage rate at which it thinks that that content or copy is created by AI. And then we just work to reduce it. So we reimagine the content. We refeed it back into an engine. If we're looking at Gemini is great for content creation and research.
Yeah.
So maybe we put it through Gemini and we say, I've created this social media post. How can I make it sound more human, or how can I make it sound more authentic? And then again, you can feed it your brand guidelines. That's what I would be doing. Takes a little bit longer, but again, 5 or 6 years ago, we didn't have AI, or we didn't have it to the level that we had it now, and therefore we were working just with our brains. We were creating content based on an idea.
Yeah. So now there's all sorts of ways you can use it to help, but you've still got to monitor it. You've still got to keep an eye on it. You've still got to refine it until you think it's right.
Absolutely. So you're in the same game as me, right? Websites and digital. With the way that the algorithms are changing on Google, for example, there was a massive seismic shift with Google recently, whereby it's looking now at authentic content, and it wants websites to have that authentic content for it to be able to appear in agentic search, for example. Yeah. So it's no different social media content. What we've now done is we want to see, so we know that website traffic across the board is dropping slightly. What we've done is we've started to take screen grabs of Google Analytics and Google Search Console results. We put it back through, for most of our clients, we'll put it back through Claude and a specific project for their website. And we'll say, analyze this website analytics, look at whether it's above the fold, below the fold, and tell me what changes we can make to this website to reduce the bounce rate, increase conversions, increase click-through actions. But we can do the same thing with social media. We can take
say you could presumably do it with any part of your marketing, couldn't you? As long as you have the stats.
Yeah, so data is the most important thing when it comes to marketing. Any marketing agency will get found out based on data. So if they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, data will show it.
Yeah.
And it's the same when it comes to your marketing. If you take screenshots of your LinkedIn interactions on posts and then feed that back through when you're doing your next round of social media content creation, say this post resonated well with the audience, analyze why that might have been, and let's consider that on the next round of content creation.
Right. So you're kind of, you're using what you've used or learned already, all the data to help you with that content creation.
Absolutely. And if we want to be even smarter, we can go into, so at LinkedIn, there was an AI update latter part of 2025, an algorithmic change, which was massive. And it changed the way that users interact. So let's say I've got an audience of 7,000 people on LinkedIn at the moment. If I put a post out, it's not going to go out to 7,000 people. Yeah. Typically speaking, it'll go out to about between 2 and 5% of that audience.
Okay. Yep.
And then depending on how well it lands in that golden hour, that first hour, will be how many more of my audience will then see it.
Okay.
So we want it to land well. So therefore, people have got to resonate with it, or it's got to touch up a pain point that people feel. So we can start to use that. So the next point of that social media content generation might be, we then say, taking into account LinkedIn and the algorithm on LinkedIn, how should I tailor this post to make sure that it lands within the golden hour?
Okay. Perfect. And then I'm thinking, going back with all of this feedback you get into AI, can you also give it your competitors? If you're saying, because we're going back to the beginning, we want authenticity, we want to stand out. Can you also kind of put lots of social posts, say, these are my competitors. What can I do to stand out? And kind of it can analyze what they're putting out and how you could be different in some ways.
Absolutely. So I borrowed an idea from LinkedIn recently, whereby on LinkedIn, you can put who you believe is your competitor in. Yeah. And it will tell you what their audience growth looks like, how many times they posted this week, Well, I built myself my own platform like that. So, like you, I don't necessarily see competition in the market, and I don't think photographers should see competition in the market, right? We should be focused on collaboration, perhaps, or where we can stand out, where we can improve our own business rather than worrying about competition. But that said, I still created a dashboard where I could see what other marketing agencies were up to so that I could borrow some of their best ideas. So if they've got an audience growth of X, Y, Z within the last week, I want to know why. So I'll then have a look through their posts. I will feed that back into the agent and I'll say, what can we do to see audience growth like this over the next X number of days?
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. No, we talk about that a lot in the podcast too. Yeah, I think collaboration is definitely the way to go, but that doesn't mean you can't be looking on Google Maps and going, that photographer's above me. What can I do better to shift above them?
Absolutely, absolutely. We never want to stand still, right? We always want to be taking steps towards whatever business objectives we've set ourselves. And our competition, or I say competition in inverted commas, but our competition can help us and they could guide us and steer us as to what they're doing well. Let's borrow it, let's emulate it. And what they're not doing well, we know what to steer clear of.
That's it. Perfect. Right. As usual, Tom, there's about 500,000 things now to go and think about and unpack. And I think our brains will all kind of, over the course of the day and the week, start to unpack the millions of ideas you have shared with us over quite a short space of time. Anything else you think we've kind of not, in terms of that, going back to that authenticity, that standing out? Is there anything else you think we ought to cover briefly?
Yeah, the big one that we've not touched on, Sam, is personal brand. So when, as a photographer, you might have a personal brand and you might have a business brand and you might trade under one of the two. But I would suggest that for us and our businesses, we can harness the audience that we've got on social media, for example, as a brand, as a business brand. But typically speaking, we'll have larger audience as an individual than we will as and we use LinkedIn as an example here. So I've got 7,000 followers on my personal LinkedIn profile, but I've only got 1,000 page followers on one of our agency pages. So I will use my personal brand to drive traffic to the business brand or any initiatives or projects that we're working on within the business.
So, okay. And it sounds like we could possibly have a whole nother show on that as well at some stage in the future, that whole personal brand.
It's a huge thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. That is amazing. And I think finally you were saying that there's a few quotes you've forgotten about. I think one of the quotes we have on the show regularly is from you, Tom. So which is I often say, fish where the fish are, which is my favorite quote from Tom, which we do say on the show quite a lot when we're talking about marketing.
Oh, I'm pleased that, and that's one that I live by, as you know. So we simply want to make sure that we make lives as easy as possible for ourselves. So if we fish where the fish are. I also use, so an extension to that, I always talk about, if we've found the pond that we want to fish in, because that's where our ideal clients are, let's fish with a net rather than with a rod and reel. Because if we're going after that next client and that next client is transactional, it's hard work. Instead, put the net into the water and let's bring out many fish. So we need to start thinking about working smarter when it comes to our marketing. So how can we attract multiple people from an inbound perspective?
Perfect. Amazing note to end on. Thank you for being with us so much, Tom. It has been amazing speaking with you. Brilliant. And listeners, I will see you next week. There we go.